Yes, I confessed it that I used to live in a big house, and now I live in a small house for Australian standards. But when I look around, I just feel like there's so much space, so much more space than I really need. Could fit so many more people in here and just be happier. The reality is that when I used to live in a big house, a huge house, like a mansion, like a palace by any standards, I used to be way less happy. I was so much more stressed, and the relationships were so much less fertile, so much less close. It was full of depression and anxieties and all sorts of symptoms. And yet, when I've moved to smaller houses, the smaller houses I've lived in, the greater my happiness has been. The smaller the financial debts, the smaller the relationship debts, the smaller the emotional debts. It's like people are walking around living a life where they're continually in debt. I want to get you out of debt. Your happiness is my happiness. And that's the truth. When we understand it correctly, that our happiness is shared. That if you get happy, I get happier. As soon as I see you smiling, it makes me happy. As soon as I see all my good friends happy and free from stress, free from symptoms, it's just a joy to me. It just makes me even happier. Your happiness is my happiness. That's the way to be with happiness, is to do it as a shared thing. And I've been talking on the written blog about STDs, which I've reused that acronym of STDs to say socially transmissible diseases. With these socially transmissible diseases, which are pretty much just the lack of care, anytime that someone's unkind to us in any way, the slightest way, shape, or form, that's a socially transmissible disease right there. The lack of care gets inside of us. They must have got that lack of care from their own relationships. They picked it up somewhere along the line, and now they're sharing that infection with us. And what I was saying on the blog was to keep your shields up for that. Keep the gates down, keep your castle gates, or if you live in a small house like me, or you're going to downsize, if you're smarter, you're going to downsize into a small place like me. If you keep your garage down, or just keep your front gate closed, keep your mind closed to that sort of thing. Rebound it. Have a shield up against that negativity, any poisonous emotional relationship type of stuff. Just bounce it back. Don't make it yours. If it's poisonous stuff, you don't have to let it get in you. Just let it bounce off. Don't take it inside. But open up the doors, open up the gates, and let in all your good friends, which is all the positive, all the good things, all the good thoughts, and all the good words and good actions that you can share with your good friends, and work together as teams and get even more effective at spreading goodness around the world. Goodness and purity and virtue and just innocence. The sciences of the mind is totally about simple happinesses and building up these wealths. I want to get you out of debt, out of all these debts, so many symptoms. From my perspective, it's totally clear. It's crystal clear from the people who've been coming to see me in the office over the years that it's just people thinking bad thoughts, speaking bad words, doing bad things that makes other people sick. It's an infection. It's a socially transmissible disease. There's a virus in our system, and it's been passed around for generations. Countless people have been feeling not good enough, not worthy, unlovable, unloved, not as good as other people, because of the viruses of comparisons, because of viruses of being too competitive instead of being compassionate and being communicative and being a community together and supporting each other, being compassionate, being compromising. So all these wonderful words that start with comp, but not competitive, not comparing, but just caring, just being kind and looking after each other, that we can share happiness here. When we understand it correctly, we understand that our true wealth is this shared happiness, sharing with each other, giving to each other. And we can downsize, we can safely downsize, we can get ourselves out of debt. I want you out of debt because that means you're happier, can get you out of financial debt, get you out of emotional debt, get you out of your relationship debts, get you out of your career debts, that you're worrying that your career's not good enough, people thinking that they're not as good as other people, not worthy, not cool, and hiding themselves away, feeling ashamed, feeling like there's something to be ashamed of there, feeling guilty, trying to hide away our true good selves. We don't need to do it anymore. We're allowed to just be simple and just be happy, and we can create communities based around these sorts of attitudes and build each other up and support each other.